I'm a little bit shy, actually, to be truthful. I'm a bit shy, and I don't want to be someone who tries to take advantage of her. And occasionally people say to me, oh, you know Angelina Jolie, do you think that? I said, no, I'm not going to get, no, she's.
Jacqueline Bisset is unique among the multitudes of beauty legends that have graced Hollywood. The woman who was once named the most stunning movie actress of all time by Newsweek. But she never tied the knot. Her seductive cinematic persona captivated audiences worldwide. Still loathed the situations that made her a symbol of allure. No male was ever able to retain her, even if she stood behind Frank Sinatra, Steve McQueen, and Francois Truffaut. So, what does reality say? Did it come down to a secret tragedy or a choice? In reality, what transpired underneath the glittering surface? Whatever you believed you knew about Jacqueline Bisset will be challenged by this account. The world was still in the grip of World War II when Jacqueline Bisset entered this world on September 13, 1944. She had a really chaotic existence right from the start. Despite being born into a wealthy family, her father was a doctor and her mother a French lawyer, there were deep, unfixable wounds that could never be healed. The mother, Arlette Alexander, was a powerful and bright lady. Although tragedy was a major part of her path. A sad turn occurred in her life after she gave up her work to have a family, a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. Max Fraser Bisset, the man Jacqueline had previously trusted, ran away from home, leaving her mother and daughter to survive on their own. Jacqueline saw her mother, who had been brave and self-reliant, abandoned to face the challenges of adulthood on her own, even though she was too young to completely grasp the intricacies of this world. Along with the emotional scars caused by her father's leaving, she developed an irrational dread of being in a committed relationship. At a young age, she realized that women could not find fulfillment in males. The minute women stopped being the perfect embodiment of femininity that men cherished, they would be abandoned if they did not have a profession and financial independence. After that, Jacqueline's life took a turn for the serious side. She spent her formative years alone, during which she should have been full of joy and wonder. She was preoccupied with finding a way to support her mother financially while she watched other kids play. Because she had no one to protect her or lead her, she had to mature way too rapidly. She had to turn to modeling as a means of subsistence. However, she learned another bitter lesson from this line of work. Although physical attractiveness can open doors to fame, it also served as a deadly trap for some. There was a lot of exploitation, criticism, and constant objectification in the 1960s fashion business. The opinions and desires of Jacqueline were disregarded. She was cast for a role based on what they could see of her face and physique. Instead of a smart and driven lady, she is a lovely flower. And still, Jacqueline would have none of it. Her lifelong goal has always been to make it as a ballet dancer. The harsh realities of life made her realize that ballet was the one activity where she could be herself without fear of judgment. Her family's finances had deteriorated, and she couldn't afford to continue her ballet training due to its high cost. The ballet world was just as cruel, and she quickly learned that her tall, full-figured physique didn't conform to the rigid norms of the period, where the ordinary would perish and the extraordinary would thrive. She was unyielding. After becoming disillusioned with ballet, Jacqueline sought a new way forward that would provide her the independence she yearned for. It was the cinematic route. The Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts has produced some of Britain's most famous actors and actresses, so she decided to join them. The light of her own beauty followed her into the realm of acting, though. Nobody noticed her skill. First, they beheld her face. Her effortless grace, refined demeanor, and captivating charisma were more important to the casting directors than her acting chops. Jacqueline felt profound inner turmoil as a result of this insight. Although she yearned for acclaim for her skills, she was realistic about the fact that her good looks were more important to her career prospects. Even while her attractiveness helped her get to Hollywood more quickly than everyone had anticipated, it would later turn out to be both a blessing and a curse for her. Because being beautiful is a certain way to break into the film business. Jacqueline will soon learn the hard way what celebrity really costs. It was crystal clear to Jacqueline. Once she gave in to the idea that she was only good for being a beauty queen, she would never be able to prove to everyone that she was an actress at heart. But would she be able to break free of the golden shackle that Hollywood had set up for her? Both The Knack and How to Get It were Jacqueline's first feature films, released in 1965. While the part wasn't particularly significant or career-defining, it did serve as her gateway into an industry rife with perils. Casino Royale, 1967, a spoof of the James Bond franchise, gave her a more prominent part 2 years later. Yet it was more like a smack in the face than anything that might have propelled her into professional acting. No acting chops were needed for the part of Miss Goodthighs. All it took was for her to possess an irresistible allure that made others unable to tear their eyes away. To Jacqueline's delight, the audition proceeded according to plan. The director didn't probe for details regarding her background in acting or conduct any kind of performance evaluation. All they did was stare at her. Instead of evaluating a complex and driven individual, they were more interested in a pricey object. Everyone was staring at Jacqueline the moment she arrived onto the stage in her little swimsuit. There was complete quiet for a little while. Then there were compliments whispered in the wind. However, amidst the wonder, one individual experienced intense discomfort. Yes, Jacqueline. She hoped her legacy would be more than that of a beautiful movie icon. Unfortunately, she had no other options in Hollywood at the moment. She was showered with offers after the film's debut. One major problem, though, stood up. The criteria was the same for all of the scripts she received. All that was required of her character was that she be attractive. At that point, she had to make a pivotal choice: give up and be just another film siren, or stand up and establish her brilliance. After that, a chance opportunity presented itself in 1967. One of the most talented actresses of all time, Audrey Hepburn, co-starred with Jacqueline in the film Two for the Road. Actors needed to show a range of emotions because the drama was romantic. As soon as Jacqueline set foot on the set, she could sense a change. Her life took a dramatic turn when she finally felt like an actor. Rather than only playing the role, Jacqueline immersed herself in it. The sequences that served solely to highlight her figure, like the glitzy bikinis, have long since disappeared. Rather than that, she finally had the opportunity she had always wanted to show her vulnerability, her grief, and the inner upheaval she felt while playing the character. Many people enjoyed the movie. At last, critics began praising her for her acting chops rather than her beauty. Jacqueline, more significantly, had discovered her cinematic voice. It was then that she realized she could and would have to battle for recognition as a professional actor. Cast in the 1968 Frank Sinatra picture The Detective, she had her second big break the following year. She had heard the warnings before ever getting onto the set. Sinatra may be challenging. The Sinatra is in charge. When Sinatra works with fresh actors, he becomes nervous. Jacqueline ignored the whispers, faced problems head-on, and yearned, above all else, to gain wisdom from a living legend. What caught her off guard, though, was that Frank Sinatra was completely different from the warnings she had received. He was easygoing, modest, and respectful. Contrarily, he defended her when she encountered opposition from the screenwriters and even referred to her as the child. As a gesture of gratitude, he presented her with a leather-bound screenplay after filming concluded. The media did not squander any time igniting rumors. Did she and Sinatra have an intimate connection? In the company of a great man, a stunning actress? Something more was required. Because of her lack of skill, nobody thought she belonged there. The Detective actually helped her progress up the corporate ladder, despite all the rumors. She became famous, nevertheless, not because of the picture. Her appearance in Bullitt, 1968, often regarded as the best action picture of all time, marked that turning point. The picture demonstrated that Jacqueline could compete with the most famous starring males in Hollywood and solidified Steve McQueen's place in cinema history. Rumors began circulating before to its publication that Jacqueline is little more than a beautiful face in comparison to McQueen. The films released to theaters, however, silenced the doubters. In McQueen's picture, she served a purpose beyond that of a mere romantic interest. Her performance was nuanced and compelling, and she played a crucial role in the plot. At last, Hollywood had to change their perception of her. Murder on the Orient Express, a 1974 film starring Jacqueline and an ensemble of renowned performers, was released. At this point, Hollywood finally acknowledged that Jacqueline Bisset was more than simply a pretty face in the acting world. A genuine Hollywood celebrity, she was. It was Jacqueline Bisset's stunning good looks that got her into Hollywood. But that alone would have been enough to ensure her oblivion, just as it did for many other actresses. For her own survival, she had to dispel the world's doubts about her acting chops and establish herself as more than simply a sexy symbol. However, Hollywood wasn't prepared to part ways just yet. Even though she never wanted it, it kept her appearance a commodity, making her the supreme sex symbol of the 1970s. The Deep, 1977 was the pinnacle of it all. Jacqueline joined the Deep with the expectation of becoming a part of an exciting underwater experience, a film with real meaning, rather than a marketing ploy. Hollywood, however, had other intentions. Something was amiss with the filming from the start. She felt it. Her figure in a white bikini was the unrelenting object of the camera's attention. Recording close-ups that served to emphasize her physical attractiveness rather than the character. But Jacqueline didn't really understand the truth until the movie came out. A picture of her with a wet white t-shirt clinging to her figure became an unforgettable scene in cinematic history. The fact that she was completely unaware that this moment would serve as the centerpiece of the whole film's marketing campaign further added insult to injury. The filmmaker and producers had first reassured her that the attire was authentically character-appropriate and nearly ordinary diving gear. They said that it was only an accurate depiction of female divers and had no intention of being offensive. She had been made to think one thing, but once the film came out, she saw that the truth was very different. An exciting action scene or dramatic moment was missing from the film's advertising poster. That damp t-shirt belonged only to her. As though that were the film's really shining star. Her stunning good looks were more talked about than the film's plot, and the media couldn't get enough of it. Unintentionally, that one scene set off a worldwide craze for wet t-shirts, which in turn prompted imitations of the scenario in other contests and events. The uproar grew as some started to wonder if it had all been premeditated. The scene wasn't as coincidental as Jacqueline thought, according to several reviewers. Their suspicion was that the filmmakers were aware of the exact process by which the delicate cloth would become see-through when submerged in water, but they purposefully kept this information from her in order to max out her image. Peter Guber, producer of The Deep, went so far as to say, "That t-shirt made me a rich man," adding fuel to the fire of the assumption that it was always a marketing tool. Jacqueline was tricked. Reminiscing about her first astonishment at seeing the scene in cinemas, she said years later that she felt like crying. With only one exploited scene, she became an uncontrolled sex symbol, something she had never intended to do. Her entire accomplishment was in jeopardy of being turned into a meaningless PR spectacle. Even though she was unhappy with the way the film portrayed her, The Deep was a huge success. Not in the way she had imagined, but it did make her famous all over the world. Hollywood would keep casting her in roles that were superficially related to her beauty as long as she remained trapped in this image. She was also aware that she needed a part that would change Hollywood's perception of her and her career. Rich and Famous, 1981, presented that chance. Jacqueline found her redemption on Rich and Famous after years of being dismissed as simply another film beauty. A tremendous drama that was. A conflict between two female characters including treachery, desire, and friendship. With this job, Jacqueline was no longer an afterthought. She had to act with nuance because her character had complicated feelings. She was the character, not simply a performer. Press buzz around Jacqueline Bisset's role in the film began with the words "serious actress" and continued with descriptions of her as a sexy symbol. She had waited her whole career for this moment. Beauty may bring renown, but talent could guarantee longevity. She had proven it. In 1987, Jacqueline tackled even another difficulty with the love story Napoleon and Josephine, continuing her quest of artistic integrity. A monumental historical drama it was not. She had a chance to show off her acting chops and maturity. The part of Josephine, the formidable woman who stood at Napoleon Bonaparte's side, called for grace, profundity of feeling, and mesmerizing refinement. Jacqueline was nominated for a Golden Globe for her outstanding performance. While Rich and Famous proved her mettle in contemporary drama, Napoleon and Josephine proved she belonged in any genre. However, her exceptional films were not the only determinant of her success. The people she associated with also had a role. Jacqueline didn't only demonstrate her brilliance with outstanding performances throughout her career. Working with some of cinema's all-time greats was another honor for her. Actor François Truffaut worked with discerning directors including George Cukor, John Huston, Roman Polanski, and François Truffaut. Jacqueline would never have been included in such illustrious company if she had genuine talent. Beyond that, she appeared in films alongside legendary actors. Notable figures include Paul Newman, long considered Hollywood's ideal leading man, Anthony Quinn, a Golden Age giant, Jean-Paul Belmondo, the very essence of French cinema, and rising talents like Nick Nolte and Kenneth Branagh. There could be no doubt about her status on the field. Her fame well planted. However, a single unanswered question persisted. Why hadn't Jacqueline Bisset tied the knot? She was stunning, wealthy, and renowned. Let's find out what her troubled private life is like in the following chapter. Power couples in Hollywood are perpetually under the scrutiny of the media, and the city is full with flings and dramatic splits. Jacqueline Bisset, however, was an anomaly even in that milieu. Never in her life did she tie the knot, don a bridal gown, or accompany a guy down the aisle. Why would a stunning, accomplished, and renowned lady like Jacqueline want to live a solitary life? This is what the public began to wonder. It was never a secret for Jacqueline. She talked about how she doesn't want to settle down with a spouse in an interview. Marriage meant more than love and devotion to her. About being okay with someone else's habits and imperfections. Plus, she had no intention of giving up that. Having a child together strengthens a couple's relationship, but there is no assurance that they will always be happy. Loving someone makes it hard to notice their flaws. But once you tie the knot, you'll have to deal with their behaviors on a daily basis. And I doubt I'd be able to pull that off. Although Jacqueline never tied the knot, she had her fair share of intense relationships. The men who came into her life, the affairs that left an imprint, and the problems that were never fully addressed. The most important of Jacqueline's boyfriends was Michael Sarrazin. She has never been in a relationship as lengthy as her 6-year cohabitation with the Canadian actor. At the height of their respective Hollywood careers, in the late 60s, they crossed paths. Jacqueline was instantly enchanted by Sarrazin's wild and free-spirited personality and rugged good looks. They had a warm evening together in 1969, after a press event at a Parisian hotel, sitting on the balcony. While Michael leisurely drew on his cigarette, her glass of wine mirrored the golden light. Is marriage in our future? His mouth slightly parted in a grin as he inquired abruptly. Jacqueline fixed her gaze on him. She seemed to know the answer before she even spoke, her eyes betraying her knowledge. Marriage isn't the right choice for me, even if I love you. Being bound is something I fear. As Michael tossed his cigarette on the stone floor, he let out a laugh. We may just remain in this position. Nothing formal, just two souls deeply in love. But as time went on, she understood that a relationship devoid of commitment could never endure indefinitely. Their love was intense, but it was also tumultuous. Jacqueline sacrosanctly protected Sarah Zane's autonomy because Sarah was not the kind to settle down. They were unable to put their disagreements aside in the end. Their relationship ended quietly, without any major drama, controversy, or conflicts. They simply knew they weren't destined to be together forever. One of the most influential filmmakers in French movie history, François Truffaut, drew Jacqueline's insatiable passion of film. He was famous for more than simply his creative works, he also had a magnetic intellectual charisma. Jacqueline, you are a goddess of the cinema, but I think you are more than that, Truffaut told her one evening in Cannes. No one can ever truly own you because of your wild soul. Even after all these years, she couldn't shake those words. Maybe they were both artistic free spirits, but no one really knows why their romance ended. No longer interested in being tied down by love, Truffaut persisted in filmmaking as Jacqueline embarked on a new romantic adventure, this time involving a man from the ballet world. In contrast to the free-spirited Sarrazin and the cerebral Truffaut, the dramatic and passionate Alexander Godunov was a man of substance. The irreverence and intensity of an artist's spirit were personified by the great Russian ballet dancer Godunov. Jacqueline discovered Godunov, his eyes crimson from vodka, sitting alone on the vacant stage one night following a magnificent ballet performance in New York. "Can you believe it?" His voice quivered as he whispered. "No one gets me, even though everyone is staring at my dancing." Their troubled connection endured for years. The stresses of his profession contributed to Godunov's tendency for explosive emotional episodes, while also contributing to his naturally unpredictable personality. At the same time, Jacqueline placed a premium on stability and peace. They cared for one another, yet they could never live in peace. At the conclusion of the day, she went her separate way. Jacqueline Bisset became a stepmother even though she never wed or had children of her own. Emin Bostip and Michael Sarrazin, two of the men she lived with, were parents themselves. Despite the lack of a formal relationship, Jacqueline took an active role in their upbringing and cared for them as a mother figure during their time together. Having no children of her own was something she never regretted, but that didn't mean she didn't have maternal feelings. Although she cared deeply for the offspring of the men she dated, she knew deep down that she was never destined to be a wife or mother. Beautiful love relationships and discreet, sad breakups were Jacqueline Bisset's life. But she never let love bind her, no matter who she loved. She was one of the few Hollywood women who could actually keep her independence and freedom, even though she never married or had a traditional family. Despite her reputation as one of the most sophisticated actresses in Hollywood, Jacqueline Bisset was not immune to controversy. Attending the 2014 Golden Globes was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. It sent shockwaves across Hollywood. Jacqueline Bisset, who was 69 years old at the time, took home the trophy for Best Supporting Actress that year for her work on Dancing on the Edge. It was her maiden triumph at the Golden Globes. A long overdue moment of acknowledgement for a lady who had devoted decades to the profession. However, the occasion turned into one of the most peculiar acceptance speeches in Golden Globe history, rather than a moving and impactful statement. Jacqueline came up to the platform, clearly moved, but also a little embarrassed, when her name was called out. She seemed to be at a loss for words as she hesitated for a few seconds while holding the microphone. However, instead of delivering a succinct statement, her words were jumbled, unsure, and rather lengthy. She thanked me several times, then suddenly changed the subject, and every once in a while she hesitated for awkwardly extended periods. Viewers' expressions ranged from bewilderment to laughter when the camera shifted to them. Bradley Cooper was utterly confused as the camera focused on him, Leonardo DiCaprio arched an eyebrow, Julia Roberts smiled awkwardly, and the spotlight remained on Bradley Cooper. Speculation exploded on social media the second the show concluded. Has Jacqueline Bisset been drinking before taking the stage? That was the question that started circulating. Many people took to Twitter to express their sarcasm. Even Jacqueline Bisset seems confused about what she's saying as she delivers a speech. A drunken phone call at 2 a.m. is summed up well in that sentence. Will someone please silence the microphone? I am now equally perplexed as she is. As one of the most uncomfortable moments in Golden Globe history, according to The Guardian, it was also one of the most bizarre, according to Time magazine. Was Jacqueline Bisset truly intoxicated, though? She flat out disputed the claims in an interview the day after. Before I got on stage, I refrained from drinking. Emotions simply got the best of me. After 47 years of anticipation, I finally arrived. She said that she was accustomed to Hollywood ignoring her throughout awards season and that she had never anticipated winning. She found it tough to speak her mind as her intense emotions grabbed grip the moment she got onto the platform. The incident became a watershed moment in Jacqueline Bisset's career regardless of its veracity. It revealed something indisputable and provided viewers with something to talk about for years. When the pressure is on, even a legendary Hollywood actor or actress might lose it. Jacqueline Bisset's legacy deserves recognition for the decades she devoted to her work. She became one of the first female performers to earn over $1 million for a part in the 1980s, a time when the wage gap between male and female actors was still wide. Remarkably prominent throughout that period. This was a huge step forward for future actors fighting for equal pay, and it also established her value. Even outside of Hollywood, she was well known. Her achievements to art and culture were recognized with France's most prestigious honor, the Légion d'honneur, bestowed to her by President Nicolas Sarkozy, adding to the global acclaim she had received. Jacqueline was never limited to films set in the United States. She made guest appearances in films from more than 20 nations, collaborating with renowned filmmakers in the globe. There was more to her than that. She was an artist who touched people all throughout the world, and her legacy will last for years. Even though she never tied the knot or started a family, her impact was felt well beyond the silver screen. The legendary actress Angelina Jolie once said that Jacqueline Bisset's career served as an inspiration because of her fearlessness, independence, and daring decisions. Bisset is Jolie's godmother. Even though she is 80 years old, Jacqueline Bisset is still famous for her career choices and not the men she dated. A route that was unique to Jacqueline Bisset, one that was unorthodox, unconstrained by convention, and, most importantly, hers alone. Even though she is 80 years old, Jacqueline Bisset is still very much involved in the entertainment world and has no plans to retire. The fact that she keeps making cameos shows that her love of movies has never faded. Lauren and Rose, in which she acted in 2022, was a striking mirror image of her life and profession. The character she played was an experienced actress with a complicated soul. In the same year, she received the Cultural Icon Award from the Coronado Island Film Festival for her remarkable achievements in cinema spanning 6 decades. Jacqueline Bisset has not only kept up her on-screen persona, but she is also a living embodiment of classic beauty. Time has sculpted her beauty into that of a woman who has lived, experienced, and stayed free, rather than submitting to Hollywood's fixation on youth or undergoing plastic surgery. There is a philanthropic side to her that extends beyond her work. Animal rights, child protection, and cancer research are her main areas of focus. Respecting her altruism and empathy. Not everything in Jacqueline's life revolves around the limelight. What she hopes to leave behind for the generations to come is also at the heart of it. But her remarks about the Me Too movement in February 2025 caused quite a commotion, which she had not anticipated. She blamed women for their own vulnerability to sexual harassment and said in an interview that she didn't have much compassion for the movement. By staying out of dangerous situations and relying on her male co-workers for protection, she said that she had never been the target of harassment throughout her lengthy career. Many people had different emotions to what she said. Some thought her viewpoint was sexist and uncaring toward women who had experienced abuse at the hands of males in the profession. But there were those who rallied around Jacqueline, thinking that all she was doing was recounting anecdotes from a bygone Hollywood period. Whatever the case may be, Jacqueline Bisset's position is consistent with her character. Brave, self-reliant, and not afraid to stand out. She has never cared about what other people think of her or try to get their approval. A life free of ties was what Jacqueline Bisset opted for. She never had a marriage, kids, or a man who could hold her heart. Was it really strength, though, or just a front for loneliness? Was marriage really unnecessary for her, or had she just never met a suitable partner? Are you in agreement? Does having a family really provide a woman happiness, or is it only an excuse for her to stay alone? Could the harsh lesson of her parents' unhappy marriage have influenced her choices? Post your opinions and views in the space provided. Please subscribe and hit like if you would like to continue receiving stunning news about Hollywood stars. Explore the interesting backstories of your favorite symbols by clicking the video that appears on your screen.